Listen, let me tell you something about this Knicks team. They have the identity. They have the physicality.
We could wake up and the Knicks could be in the conference finals. That's a thing that can happen.
Hello, everyone. Once again, back here yet again, Empire State Hoops, Season 2, Episode number 12. I'm Adam Rothschild, and alongside me, that is Matt Vargo and Gordon Huntley, back with us once again, rejoining us here in the middle of the NBA playoffs. And another announcement as well. This is our final episode of Season 2. Unfortunately, with our circumstances, having to head home off of campus here at Susquehanna University, and we'll be back with Season 3 in the fall.
Yep.
Don't worry, we'll be back soon. But with round 1 of the NBA playoffs done, today's episode of Empire State Hoops has been powered by Sport Pros USA. For more information, visit sportprosusa.com or call 877-HOOPS-NJ to make your dream court a reality today. So, the NBA playoffs, round 1, is officially in the books.
Almost. Game 7, Cavs Orlando tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yes, you correct me there. With the Magic winning Game 6 last night, they'll be playing their Game 7 in Cleveland on Sunday. But, Matt, I know the first round of the playoffs did not go the way you wanted to for your Philadelphia 76ers. I know. But getting to this series anyways, we're going to recap Games 3, 4, 5, and 6 because we did cover Games 1 and 2 in our previous episode. So, starting off with Game 3, the Sixers knew they had their backs against the wall. Maxey and Embiid had to respond somehow, some way. We knew this series was going to be physical out of the gate. Game 3, you saw a lot of that. And Joel Embiid, despite majority of his points being from the free throw line, he dropped 50.
Yeah, it was a great game. Obviously, a good bounce-back game for the squad. But they were down by 3 at halftime of this one. It's just going to be like, are you kidding me? Like, we can't pull away from these guys even once. And then the third quarter they did. Maxey came along for the ride with 25, and Oubre had 15. Also getting 11 off the bench from Cameron Payne was awesome. But Embiid, it was really the only, like, vintage Joel Embiid game of the series, although he was really good in Game 6. And it completely overshadowed the fact that Jalen Brunson was awesome in that game. 39 and 13 in 45 minutes. Josh Hart was really the only other guy who gave him like any other consistent production. And yeah, they won, and it gave a little bit of hope that they could right the wrong of Game 2 and potentially tie the series. Didn't happen, but we'll get to that in a bit.
Gordon, what's your take on Game 3?
I mean, yeah, Game 3, it was definitely Philadelphia knew that they had to win this game. The Knicks took their 2 at home. Philly knew that they had to come in. They had to do their job. Realistically, I wasn't here to discuss Game 2. Philly probably should have won Game 2, not even regarding foul calls, but giving up 5 points in the last 20 seconds is like really embarrassing for a professional sports team to do. I know that back in my rec league days, if I did that, my coach would be making us run gassers the whole next day at practice. But Game 3, it was definitely probably a low point for the Knicks in this series, I would say. Before Game 5, Game 3 was definitely the first time where it was like, all right, Philly's not going away. This is going to be a tough series. And realistically, it ended up being probably the best series in the whole first round of the playoffs, I would say.
I would completely agree with what that statement was right there. This was probably one of the most physical playoff series we've had in quite some time. Just the back and forth with two great sports towns, with New York and Philly, with how they are with their teams. It's, been crazy for such a long time, been trying to get a championship back in either city. But now going on to Game 4, with the series now 2-1, a must-win for both teams. You think about this from Philly's perspective. They tie the series up, and they go back to New York with a chance to try to win a game on the road at the Garden, which we'll get to shortly. But when you think about this for the Knicks, if they win this game, they can just close this out at the Garden. That could have been the case, of course, which we're going to get to. But in Game 4, Jalen Brunson, a pure masterpiece.
Oh, yeah.
47 points, a franchise record. How did he do it?
It's not like the Sixers were playing bad defense. He was just hitting some really tough shots all game long. And what made it more impressive is that this game could have gotten out of hand for the Knicks really early. They trailed by 10 after the first quarter, and you kind of thought that they would just be like, all right, Philly's day. They're going to blow them out. Didn't happen. They made up, I believe, almost all that ground in the second quarter. I think the Sixers only had around a two three-point lead.
2-point lead going into the half.
Yeah, which was a great way for them to undo the damage. And then especially the second half of this game really felt like old school, like mid-2000s NBA basketball. Neither side really got pulling away from one another. I believe neither side scored more than 50 in the second half of this game. And I got Jalen Brunson, 47 and 10, awesome performance. OG Anunoby, 16 and 14, played all but 1 minute of this game. And that little, fill in the blank what you want, but that little guy, Josh Hart, 17 rebounds, only scored 4 points, but 17 rebounds for a guy who's like 6'2", 6'3", it feels like. Maybe he's a little bit taller than that, but I mean, that was the Knicks' classic case of they wanted that game a lot more than Philly did. I know Joel Embiid slowed down in the fourth, but nobody else really picked up the slack in that second half, and kudos to the Knicks and their fans. Took over Wells Fargo Center, and yeah, they went back to the Garden up 3-1.
Gordon, what's your take on this with all this defense and the physicality that came really in the fourth quarter, just like Achua's block on Embiid and all these crazy plays, of course, with Josh Hart getting 17 rebounds like Matt just said. What's your take?
I mean, this was the game Mitchell Robinson was out, right? After the ankle pull, yeah. So, I mean, like you said, Precious Achiuwa, he really had to step up this game. Isaiah Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson, and I guess Achiuwa too, were all fantastic, I would say, this entire series. Really trying, you can't contain Embiid, but you can definitely try to slow him down. You can definitely neutralize him. And I feel like those three in rotation really tried their hardest to do that. And in some cases they did. Josh Hart, I mean, I think, what is he, 6'3"? Josh Hart's 6'3". I mean, they call him the heart of the city for the reason. 0 for 7 from the field, 0 for 3 from 3. He had 4 points on free throws. He was only shooting 50% from the line. But then, like you said, he gets those 17 rebounds, and that's the difference in the game right there. Like, he's jumping over all those guys. I think he had the most rebounds in that game. And then looking ahead a little bit to Game 6, his line was set at 11.5 rebounds. And I'm like, I was so close to pressing the under, but I didn't press it. I was like, dude, it's Josh Hart. He's going to get those rebounds. And then on the last shot of the series, Josh Hart caught the ball off the backboard, and that hit is over. So Josh Hart, fantastic. And then Jalen Brunson is just another one of his classic. And Josh Hart, too, playing 46 of the 48 minutes. But Jalen Brunson, too, like, I think MVP talk in the regular season was one thing. But I think now that we're watching this playoffs, I believe he's averaging the most points in the playoffs out of any player.
Over Tyrese Maxey, yes.
Over Tyrese Maxey. Mm-hmm. Jalen Brunson has just been fantastic. For the first 2 games, he was slow. He was more of a facilitator. Philly was really saying, let's let DiVincenzo beat us. Let's let Hart beat us. Let's let Anunoby beat us. Don't let 11 beat us. And then in those first 2 games, they realized, all right, these other guys can beat us. So then they had to open up a little bit more for Jalen Brunson, and he really exposed them, going for 47 this game. And that was, like I said, the key. Like, the Knicks had 2 players with more than double digits. They had no one else over 20. Jalen Brunson was the difference and was the catalyst for Game 4, winning in Wells Fargo Center.
And just remember, guys, what Gordon just said about that fact. It's more points in the postseason than Tyrese Maxey, than LeBron, than Jokic, than Luka, than Kyrie. Those are all names that Jalen Brunson is ahead of right now. So it's just insane to think about the first 2 games when he just struggled.
Assists. He had 10 assists this game, too, so it's not even that he's just ball hogging the whole time, taking to the hoop. He's still giving guys open looks. Like OG Anunoby had 16, Deuce McBride had 13, and then I'm sure DiVincenzo, some of those 8 points, Hartenstein, some of those 8 points must have come off Jalen Brunson assists, too, because no one else, like, I think the rest of the team combined for 9 assists, and Jalen Brunson had 10, so he's just really, like, the catalyst for this entire offense.
And it's sharing the ball, too. Exactly. Great point right there, of course, with how this team orchestrates their offense around Jalen Brunson and just feeding to wide-open teammates, and that's been what the case was. But, Matt, I'm going to let you go into this now with Game 5. Mm-hmm. I know this game was back and forth the whole way. The Knicks had a 6-point lead. 6-point lead with 28 seconds left. And the first play, which I know was talked about all over the sports world, with Mitchell Robinson fouling Tyrese Maxey on the N1-3, makes the free throw. The Knicks had the ball again. Josh Hart misses 2 free throws. Maxey gets it again.
I think he went 1 for 1.
Was it 1 for 1?
Or 1 for 2 from the
1 for 2.
line.
Okay. So, and then after that, of course, Tyrese Maxey again, logo 3 from like 35 feet out. Bang.
Okay. Obviously, we all remember the ending of this game, but we have to acknowledge the journey that it took to get there. Once again, the Sixers started out really well in the first. It was the name of the game all series, but then the Knicks, once again, second quarter, almost doubled them up in terms of points, 32 for 17. Took, I believe, a 7-8 point lead into the break. And then from there, the Sixers were just trying to like cut it down. Couldn't really get much going. Knicks were always up, it felt like, by 5 or 6 points the whole way. And then Maxey, look, I know he traveled before he shot the N1 from downtown, but if you're Mitchell Robinson, just stand there. Just let him shoot the crazy shot. The one thing you can't do is foul him and miss the free throws. And that's exactly what happened for the Knicks. And then Maxey, from the logo, sucked all the energy out of MSG. Like, I believe, I'm trying to remember everybody who was there. Melo was there. I think Ewing, John Starks, Oakley. I don't
Tracy
know.
Morgan,
Yep, all of those
Ben
guys.
Stiller.
Yep, all of them were there. From the moment they were up 6, it was like, this is the greatest moment in our franchise history in the last 25 years. And then from there, we had angry Knicks fans, just disheartened Knicks fans, like, we got to play 5 more minutes. Like, I thought we'd won. And then in overtime, again, Maxey again took control. Really overshadowed the fact that despite him having a triple-double, Joel Embiid I thought was bad in this game. Only 19 points, and defensively wasn't really getting a lot going until overtime. I guess he was really rejuvenated by the Maxey shot as well as the team. But, you know, it made you think maybe for a moment, could this go back to Game 7? Like, could the Knicks somehow avoid a devastating 3-1 collapse? And I'm sure we'll talk about it with Game 6, but kudos to them. They managed to keep their heads on straight and finish the job back in Philly. But you guys take it over from here.
Well, with the case being that, of course, the Jalen Brunson turnover in Game 5 was also a big thing as well. But I just remember seeing all the Barstool Philly stuff, and I'm sure, Matt, you can attest to this too, saying, like, the ghost of Reggie Miller is back in the Garden, like, and, like, Sixer fans saying it. It's just... It's crazy to think about, you know, and like
photoshopping Maxey's face on the Reggie with the chokehold. Like, I saw a lot of that. I saw a lot of that.
Well, we'll get into that, of course, with our second round series, which is kind of a sneak peek, sort of. But going into Game 6, Gordon, the Knicks, they knew they did not want to blow this 3-1 lead. They knew they wanted to finish it in Philly, find a way to bounce back. And sure enough, they were able to do that somehow, some way. The Knicks had a big lead actually to start the game, up like 24-9 at one point, and then Philly made their way back into it pretty much by the end of the first quarter. And then the Sixers were up 3 at halftime. The Knicks knew something had to change. There were like 16 lead changes in this game, just back and forth all the way. And then it ended with the Josh Hart 3. They sealed the deal.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. In the first quarter, I was doing my victory lap. I was saying the Knicks won, the Knicks are moving on, the Knicks are playing. I think, was it Indiana at that point, definitely? Or
Yeah, it was definitely because the Pacers played first before.
I was saying this series is over. Like, I was talking to every Sixers fan I knew, and then they slowly started coming back, and all my friends were texting me like, "What's going on? Like, why can't the Knicks close out games?" And I couldn't even tell you what was going on. Like, it looked like the offense just kind of didn't really know what they wanted to be. Like, they felt the pressure, like you said, blowing that 3-1 lead. You never want to be a team that blows that 3-1 lead. And in all honesty, as much home court advantage as the Garden gives, as much as we talk about that, if the Knicks lost Game 6, I don't think we win the series. I think that just the pressure in Game 7, the pressure of not blowing a 3-1 lead, the Knicks have everything to lose, Philly has everything to gain. But this series, once again, really just showed you Jalen Brunson, 41, 12 assists again, really making sure that he just was distributing the ball. DiVincenzo had 23. I think he started like 5 for 5 from 3. He was on. OG Anunoby had a couple of huge threes, and then he had the dunk on Embiid, which really set the tone for the rest of the game. Like we said, this whole series, physicality. Anunoby could have taken that 3, but he said, no, I'm taking this ball to the hoop. And in all honesty, like we said at the start, Josh Hart with 14 rebounds this game. OG Anunoby had 9. Hartenstein had 9. Mitchell Robinson had 9. At the end of the day, the more physical team won this series. The team that played better defense won this series. And the team that made the least mental mistakes ended up winning this series.
And yes, that was, of course, the case. The Knicks close out the Sixers in Game 6 on the road in front of that atmosphere in Philadelphia, of course, the Wells Fargo Center, and move on to the second round. But with the 76ers season concluded, Matt, what's your final take on them this year?
I know everyone's going to do the Embiid no conference finals meme like it lives on for another year. I'm just used to it at this point, and it obviously sucks because out of all the first-round opponents, I wanted going into this, well, knowing that we could have gotten. I didn't want Boston, didn't want Milwaukee. Now, I didn't know that Milwaukee was going to lose both Dame and Giannis in the series. Well, we knew that Giannis probably wasn't going to play, or at least not sit out the whole series. And I didn't know that Dame was going to get hurt, but I thought if they could have gotten any team in the first round, I wanted it to be the Knicks. Randall obviously hurt, but, Randall's not really a playoff guy. And
Buddy Hield wanted to be the Knicks too, by the way, so you're not the only one.
Oh, yeah. But I'll give Jalen Brunson this. For a guy who is 6'2", I think at his tallest, it's 6'2". This guy just completely took over a series, was the best player. Not saying he's better than Joel Embiid overall, but the best player in this series was Jalen Brunson. And can he be the first little guy in a long time to take a team on a deep playoff run? I mean, the last guy to do it was Trey back in 2021, but that was a really weird year. It was just out of COVID. I mean, hell, the Utah Jazz were the number 1 seed in the West that year, and the Knicks somehow made the playoffs that year, fresh out of the pandemic. But the only guys I could think of who've ever done something like this are Isaiah Thomas on those bad boy Pistons teams, and obviously Steph with Golden State. But can Jalen Brunson be the spearhead of a contender for being a little guy? And so far, he's answered the call. Great series, but back for the Sixers, it's clear that the depth pieces you brought in after trading Harden didn't work out, but you got a ton of cap space. Sayonara Tobias Harris. Like, that guy burned money for 5 years from this organization. But we'll look towards the future, and the Knicks will be looking at the Pacers, and they got to be feeling pretty good. Very good.
And while the 76ers head on a vacation to Cancun, the 76ers do that, and the Knicks will face the Indiana Pacers in the second round of the playoffs. The last time they met in the postseason was 11 years ago, back in 2013. Indiana won that series in 6 games, but we'll get to that and close out the first round of the playoffs after the break here on Season 2, Episode number 12 of Empire State Hoops. We'll be right back.
Hey there, basketball fans. Are you ready to take your love for the game to a whole new level? Well, listen up. We've got something that will make your hoop dreams come true. Introducing Sport Pros USA, the ultimate destination for all your backyard sport court needs. Whether you're a diehard Knicks fan or just looking for some slam dunk fun with your family, Sport Pros USA has got you covered. Picture this. It's a sunny afternoon in New York, and you step out onto your very own custom-built backyard basketball court. The court where legends are born and memories are made. A court where you can unleash your inner baller and shoot hoops like your favorite Knicks players. But it's not just about basketball. It's about family, friends, and fun. Whether you're hosting a game of horse with your buddies or teaching your kids how to dribble and shoot, Sport Pros USA brings the magic of the game right to your doorstep. Our courts are more than just a place to play. They're a place to connect, bond, and create unforgettable moments. And with Sport Pros USA, you can have it all, right in your own backyard. We're not just building courts, we're building dreams. Dreams of buzzer beaters, comebacks, and endless laughter. So why wait? Give us a call at 877-HOOPS-NJ or visit sportprosusa.com today to start designing your very own backyard basketball court. Remember, at Sport Pros USA, we believe that every home deserves a court, and every family deserves the joy of playing together. So don't just watch the game, be a part of it.
And we are back here once again, Season 2, Episode 12 of Empire State Hoops. I'm Adam Rothschild, and alongside me, that is Matt Vargo and Gordon Huntley here with us as well. We talked about the first round for the Knicks against Matt Vargo's 76ers, which are now on a vacation heading to Cancun.
I wish I was going to Cancun. Cancun doesn't seem like a bad place to go, I'm just saying.
And from there now, the New York Knicks will face their old-time rivals from the 90s, the Indiana Pacers. It's a great point guard matchup, first of all, with Jalen Brunson and Tyrese Halliburton, 2 franchise point guards running their teams right now. The Pacers, of course, in the first round, they played in the Milwaukee Bucks. Dame and Giannis pretty much in and out of the lineup. Giannis didn't play the entire series. Damian Lillard played up to about Game 3 and pretty much wasn't really showing up from there.
And came back for Game 6.
For Game
he
6.
Missed 4 and 5.
Okay, yeah. But basically, the Bucks, outside of Dame and Giannis, they didn't really have enough. The role players couldn't step up. The Pacers have a great team with great execution. They have a great run and gun offense. Head coach in Rick Carlisle, And he's done a nice job there, of course, coming over from Dallas. And he coached Indiana early on back in the early 2000s, taking them to the conference finals. And what he's shown since then is that he can still do it. And the Pacers, I think, just like the Sixers, it's another challenge. It's not like Boston, but it's another challenge. What do you think, Gordon?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, looking at because the first game I actually bet on the Bucks to win because I'm like, how is Milwaukee? Because I think it was at Milwaukee, right? Game 1.
Yeah, because the Bucks were the 3 seed.
I was looking at Milwaukee and I'm like, Milwaukee's at home, Milwaukee's underdogs. What is going on? Placed the bet, told one of my friends about it, and they're like, oh, Giannis is out. I'm like, that's why. So I basically kissed however much money I put on that game goodbye at that point. But then I checked the game at halftime, and I think Dame had like 35. So this whole series, it was just kind of weird. Like, Dame in and out of the lineup. Giannis, you would think a guy like him would have at some point at least tried to give it a go. Like I said, I knew going into the series, I'm like, the fact that they're saying nothing shows that Giannis is either really hurt or he's like about to, like, one step away from coming back. Like, there's no in between there. But I mean, like you said, the Bucks role players, they didn't step up. Dame had a solid series. I think he had like 28 in the closeout game. But then again, like you said, the Pacers, they're just speed. Their offense was really too much. I think they had 120 in the final game. So it was definitely just a good set of circumstances for the Pacers to find themselves in, I feel like. I don't think that this iteration of the Bucks that we saw in the playoffs at all compares to the Knicks team that we saw in round 1. I think that the Knicks are clearly a tier above this Bucks team that we saw in the playoffs without Giannis. But we'll have to see in the playoffs because I know Siakam's been playing great. I know Halliburton had a tough second half of the season after the All-Star break. But no, Halliburton's a great player. Siakam's a great player. They have one other guy.
Miles Turner.
Miles Turner was exactly the guy who I'm thinking of. Super underrated player. I forgot his name, actually. But I don't think that this Knicks team or the Pacers are in the same class. I think that if the Knicks play the way they played against the Sixers, I think if the Knicks keep their mental errors down to a minimum like they did in this first series, I don't think it should go more than 6 games.
Yeah, I think defensive-wise, with the interior, with what the Pacers have to offer with Siakam and Miles Turner, the Knicks can offer that back with their own 3 centers with Achua, Robinson, and Hartenstein. So that's a big plus for them as well. But I think in the front court, it's another thing you got to watch as well with these young guys along with Halliburton that the Pacers have. The Knicks can answer that back as well. So, Matt, what do you think from like the interior standpoint and the front court standpoint for both of these teams and how they match up together?
Well, obviously, you would think that the front court advantage would be in Indiana's favor because Miles Turner, as you said, underrated, had some really awesome games in that Bucks series. Kind of feasted on Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis. Siakam also had a big game. I believe it was game 2 where he dropped 38 to tie the series.
38 and 14, I think what it was.
Yeah, like those guys are obviously the 2 biggest threats. And obviously with Randall being out, you would think it's in the Bucks' favor. But Embiid, he put up his numbers, but it never felt like they were overwhelming numbers. And I feel like that will probably be the same thing. I think the Knicks will be fine enough with Hartenstein. Hartenstein, I mean, that guy's earned himself quite a payday, whether from the Knicks or anywhere else.
That left-handed floater. I saw something on Instagram today. He's a 7-footer with Trae Young's floater. I don't know, that's funny.
But yeah, Hartenstein, he plays hard, grabs rebounds, a great pick and roll finisher with Brunson, also just incredibly tough. I think the front court isn't really what's going to kill the Knicks. It'll potentially be the backcourt matchup between Brunson and Halliburton, but in all honesty, I think the Knicks have that advantage too. Halliburton, he hit the shot in game 3 he hit that floater in game 3 to beat Milwaukee. Yeah, he was awesome to start, but as Gordon said, he struggled out of the All-Star break. He had an okay series overall. Indiana just kind of overwhelmed him in numbers, really, and the Bucks couldn't match that. I agree. I'm going with the Knicks to win this series, but out of respect for what the Pacers have done this season, again, I think the Knicks, they go up maybe 2-0, win both games at the Garden, and Indiana will come back from there, but I agree. I think the Knicks are going to pull it out in 6, and they'll await what I think will be the Celtics after a sweep or gentleman's sweep of Orlando/Cleveland.
Now, if the Knicks do win this series and go to the Eastern Conference Finals, it would be their first trip there since 1999.
Actually, Y2K. It was in Y2K against the Pacers
In Y2K? What are you talking?
2000.
Oh, 2000. Oh, I forgot about 2000.
Can't forget about that.
Can't forget about 2000. The Pacers beat the Knicks that year. Pacers went to the finals, lost to the Kobe Shaq Lakers.
Yep, there you go.
I forgot what seed the Knicks were that
History
year.
lesson.
Weren't the Knicks were like the 3 seed that year or something? I know they beat They played Toronto in the first round, then they played Miami in the second round, I'm pretty sure, and then lost to Indiana from what I remember. But I just know the year before was the 8 seed year, and that was Miami. They swept the Hawks, then they beat Indiana in 6 and lost to San Antonio in 5.
Yep, but the year later they came back. I think pushed the Pacers to 5 or 6, but lost in the Eastern Finals.
Back in the 2000 year where New York versus LA was very close to happening.
Yep.
But now with the first round of the playoffs done, what is a series that shocked you the most or just kind of had a lot of drama with it? Like, Matt, I'll start with you.
When it comes to drama, it was obviously the Knicks-Sixers series. There's no question about that. Cleveland-Orlando, I mean, obviously it's gone to 7 games, but it's not like a most entertaining 7-game series. With the exception of games 5 and 6, literally the first 4 games were blowouts, almost 20-point blowouts by each side. I'd say the most intriguing series for me had to be Minnesota and Phoenix. You go the new ownership, Matt Ishbia, brings together that big 3 in Phoenix. It's never looked quite right in the regular season, but people believe in them to take on Minnesota because, you got Anthony Edwards, but they don't have a ton of playoff experience, playoff Rudy Gobert. You'd think that they'd be able to exploit that. That didn't happen at all. First 3 games weren't even close. They tried in game 4, but Ant-Man put a poster on KD, passing of the torch. And
Taking of the torch.
Yeah. It was alarming how easy Minnesota made it look, and we'll see what they do against Denver in round 2. That could be like the best second round series of the playoffs. But yeah, for Phoenix, a lot of soul searching from here. Like, what do you do? You're maxed out in your cap space. Don't have any draft picks till 2030. So what do you do to improve this team? I don't know. But kudos to the Timberwolves for making it look as easy as it did.
It's like in the TV show Survivor when Jeff Probst Tribal Council just puts out the torch. It's like Anthony Edwards was Jeff Probst putting out Kevin Durant's torch, basically. It's kind of like that scenario. Just seeing what Minnesota was able to do, sweep them out of the playoffs. I think nobody pretty much saw that coming. But Gordon, what was a series that really caught your eye?
No, I mean, definitely Minnesota. It's hard to ignore Minnesota Phoenix. Like you said, the owner, where is he going to go this offseason? It's clear that Phoenix needs a point guard, someone to facilitate the offense, someone to give Devin Booker the ball, someone to give, a more dominant center the ball. I don't know where they would find 2 players like that, but kind of, I guess, maybe like a Chris Paul would be the perfect player for them right now. Maybe like a DeAndre Ayton at center. I was never a fan when they got rid of those 2. I felt like they should have at least tried it with that team a little bit more, maybe find a way to add a Bradley Beal to that team. Instead, they just said, let's just get 3 scorers and go to work. And then Timberwolves, like we said with the Knicks series, the more physical team, the team that wanted it more, the hungrier team ended up winning that series. I didn't see a sweep coming. I thought it was going to be a good series, but Matt talked enough about that series. I want to say in a similar situation, where do the Clippers go from here? After losing in 6 to the Mavericks, Luka Doncic has shown again that he is a all-time great player that we're seeing right now. Kyrie Irving, as much as I'm not a personal fan of his, just off the court, not being particularly reliable in the past. The Mavericks winning this series really showed me a lot about them, and it showed me that as long as they have Luka Doncic, they'll always contend. No Kawhi Leonard hurt. I think Paul George missed some time in this series. Those 2 aren't getting any younger, but I think 2 players that you really need to look at and really need to assess where they go from here are Russell Westbrook and James Harden. Matt, I'm sure you have a strong opinion about about James Harden after seeing him for so long in Philly. Russell Westbrook, I loved watching him in the OKC, but I just don't know where that team goes from here. They've put so much into now. They have so much in this new arena, and now that they can't make it past the first round, you would think that with those 4 together that this would be their year, and they lose to and I believe it was another similar situation where I think the Clippers were up. I don't even remember what series it was. The Clippers were up like 30 at one point.
Yep.
And then I was saying, I'm like, this is playoff basketball. Like Dallas is still going crazy, like down 30, and then it's down 20, and then it's down 10, and then it's a tie game, and you're like, what is going. I think the Clippers ended up winning that game, but it's just one of those things that shows you like Luka's special, Kyrie's special. The Clippers should have special, and it's just something where it's just not clicking for him right now.
Yeah, and the thing is that you alluded to, James Harden down the stretch of this series was bad, as well as Westbrook, Kawhi. I mean, it's just it's sad to see because Kawhi, when he's healthy, is great in the playoffs. But now it's at the point where you can't trust Kawhi to make it through the full season, and they may even lose Paul George this offseason. They haven't signed him up long term, and he's a free agent now. Will they? We'll see. But yeah, like you said, a lot of soul searching going on over there too.
I know one team that has been on the 76ers radar, one player that's been on their radar is Paul George. But
yeah,
we've seen in the past where the 76ers try to bring in another star player, and things don't usually pan out the way that they are expected to. Jimmy Butler happens. You get rid of him over Tobias Harris, and then all they say...
Worst mistake this franchise has made in the last, 10 years.
I've said this before. I think if they kept Jimmy Butler, they would have had a championship. I think they absolutely could have had one within these past 5 years if he stayed there and they offered him a bigger contract, but Pat Riley did what Pat Riley does and offers him the money.
Yep.
And that's where he went in the deal there, and the rest is history. The Heat have gone to 2 straight finals with Jimmy Butler, and they haven't won one yet, but that's what they're trying to do. But, of course, the playoffs go on, and we go on as well as our spring semester is coming to a close. Season 2 of Empire State Hoops. It's time to close it out. It's been another fun one. Gordon, I appreciate you coming on these past few episodes with us.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Of
Always
course.
Fun.
It's been a great time with that. Matt, thank you once again for everything and just, being bought into this. I know being a 76ers fan on a Knicks podcast, I know it is challenging, but I really appreciate everything you've done.
I mean, hey, you just told me to talk hoops. That's my thing, and I'm always down to do that with you, Adam.
Absolutely, and that's what I'm here for as well. And I will tell you this: we do have a surprise guest that will be joining us in the fall.
Oh yeah.
I'm not saying it yet, but yes, you know who it is already. But you will find out. You will find out once the next season rolls around, when we get to the 24-25 NBA season. But for now, this episode of Empire State Hoops has been powered by Sport Pros USA. For more information, visit sportprosusa.com or call 877-HOOPS-NJ to make your dream court a reality today. So, the second round of the playoffs is here. The Knicks will be playing the Indiana Pacers. Game 1 is on Monday. Go watch it. I believe it's on TNT. MSG is no longer streaming. They only do the first round of the playoffs. But it will be national TV the rest of the postseason. So the Knicks will be playing the Pacers in the second round. If they win that series, I'm going to guess Boston, but we'll find out with that as that goes along. But from here, on Season 2 of Empire State Hoops, I'm Adam Rothschild. That's Matt Vargo. That's Gordon Huntley. And we will see you next season for some more Empire State Hoops. Have a good one, everyone.